What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. Crown Jewel 2021 just ended, so we're going to break down the WWE pay-per-view in full, talk about the results, give you all of our thoughts on the pros, the cons, and everything else in between. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, is Robert DeFelice.
Tony, I said it to you earlier, but I'll say it again. This event equaled or exceeded WrestleMania very easily. This was, honestly, it's totally recency bias, but this is one of the best WWE shows I can remember in a while.
So, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, I did that Crown Jewel review where it was labeled WWE Crown Jewel sucked. And this is not going to be one of those. I liked the vast majority of this.
This was easily one of the most fun WWE shows of the year.
Yeah,
good job.
There are, of course, some things here and there that I didn't really like, but and there are some things that there's really not too much to say, but there are some pretty damn good things that are on this card. Some good matches, some good outcomes, some things that you guys are going to be surprised to hear me say that I liked. And, we're going to break that down. We're going to talk about all that stuff. So we want to make sure that you give your thoughts as well. As per always, leave a comment below if you're listening to this afterward. If you're on the live chat, like I can see that we have a couple people on here right now. We got Ben, we got Chris, we got Michael, we got Brandon. Chat it up in there as well. And tell us your thoughts, pro or con, highlights, low points, disappointments, things that exceeded your expectations, whatever it might be. While you are doing that, whichever fashion you are, hit the like button on YouTube, hit the share button, subscribe, ring the notification bell, hit the Patreon stuff, the join button, the, thanks button, the TeePublic, the Redbubble. If you don't know all that stuff by now, if you're either a part of it or you're not. I don't need to really break it down all that much. If you want to know how to support us, ask. If you don't already know, there you go. So let's just dive into this a little bit. First things first, it's super early compared to what we normally are doing.
Which I think, honestly, leads to more positivity on my end.
Well, I am tired.
Yeah, but you're not a normal sleep person. So
no, I mean, I didn't get to sleep until around, I don't know, 9, like maybe like 8:30 in the morning. If I was lucky, I don't remember exactly when I fell asleep. So I basically slept like maybe an hour at most. So that has made it to where right now I'm feeling like the whole, I don't know about anybody else, but if anybody gets where they're tired, so they're like cold and kind of like achy.
Frumpy, yeah.
So you would think I would go into this and I'd be like, oh, I'm tired, I'm cold, I just want to sleep, I haven't had anything to eat yet today, like any of that kind of thing. And then I would just kind of be like, I'm surly and I don't like this or whatever. Well, even that goes to speak to how this actually was a pretty damn good show, because I'm not in bad spirits when it comes to this. I'm not even going to be in bad spirits about the fact that we're going to get something for the next 6 months that I don't really like. Over the next 6 months, I'm going to end up being an issue, but I'm not going to crap on.
That's how it's going to happen, but we'll get to it.
It's totally going to happen.
It's not, but okay.
So a lot more positives here than I think a lot of people are going to be hearing, expecting from me at the very least. Despite the fact that, I'm feeling kind of tired. I would rather these events be like this than to be super late, but I'd also rather that maybe they just start a little bit earlier than they normally do and a little bit later than this. I'd love to see a scenario where maybe they start around noon as opposed to 11. Maybe that 1 hour is a big difference. I don't know. And maybe not on Thursdays.
I'm going to be honest. So for me, I woke up around 8:30. I got about a good 6 hours of sleep. I think that this was a great balance, and I enjoyed it.
And of course, people all over the world, different things. Some people are like, hey, we're used to watching pay-per-views at 4 a.m. Screw you guys. We like this. And some other times they're like, this might be the worst time for somebody else. But it's interesting when it's different.
Callum's not here because he was working.
Yeah, normal job kind of thing. Ben in the chat says, I love that Callum does the 4 a.m. reviews, but when it's 9 p.m., he's like, nah, it's too late. Yeah, it's just time zones, the way the things are. So we got some changes to the card from yesterday. So and then we got some changes today. But things start off with the on the kickoff, they didn't have a kickoff match originally announced. And I figured we probably would get something, but we might not, that it wasn't like a guarantee. I think that they went with something that doesn't make any sense at all, but it was just complete filler. It was the Usos against the Hurt Business. And we could talk about the match itself before we get into one of the other things. Because to me, there's nothing to talk about with the match. It was a fine enough match.
It was a fun match, and the fucking Usos are over as hell. The crowd was eating up the Usos. And I love seeing them. That's one thing I'll say, the crowd for the show, very, very good. They were just excited for everything.
They were a little really too excited for everything, though. Every match got a "This is awesome" chant, even when it was like 30 seconds of punches, and they were like, "This is awesome."
That happened in the States for weird things, and at least it was like, you can just genuinely tell they were excited to be there.
So that match happens. The Usos win. There's really there was literally no setup for it. Like, I looked on WWE.com yesterday because I'm like, why would this has to be a typo? And the way that they were pitching it was, the Usos are going to fight the Hurt Business and the kickoff starts at whatever. They didn't even try. They were just like, it's a match. That kind of thing. Nothing really to talk about there. They're on separate brands. Nothing's coming out of this. This was filler.
It was good. It was fun, and they're on separate brands, and it's part of the build to Survivor Series if you want to swing it like that.
And they both got involved in other matches later, so I'm sure that was kind of the factor between this. It was like, well, they're coming out there anyway. We might as well have a match, and then that way it's a kickoff match, and we don't have to book any other people like flights or something, you know?
Because like, who else would you put them against?
I mean, it's the way that they treat this. We've talked about this a million times. They treat the kickoff as filler, so everybody else treats it as filler, and that they don't need to watch it. So then WWE goes, well, if everybody thinks that they don't need to watch it, then we don't need to do anything for it. And it's like, yeah, the Hurt Business is great. The Usos are great. And in their mind, they're like, let's just do a match for the sake of it. You're either going to watch it or you're not. If you're going to watch it, you don't care. You're going to watch everything. If you don't watch it, you don't care because you're not going to watch it. You know what I mean? I don't blame them, but I would still rather them put the effort in. But, you know, it is what it is. But the bigger story, I think, for the kickoff was the way that the kickoff kicks off, which is they go, hey, everybody, this is Crown Jewel. I'm Caleb Braxton. There's Peter Rosenberg. There's Matt Camp. And within, 45 seconds, they're like, we have breaking news. The no holds barred match is now going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they go, and also the Universal Championship match is going to be no disqualification. And I'm thinking, first things first, no holds barred, no disqualification. They're doing that whole thing again where they're acting like it's not the same thing, whatever, that kind of thing, whatever. But then within a couple minutes, 10 minutes later, Caleb Braxton goes, yeah, and by the way, it's not no DQ anymore.
Caleb Braxton literally goes, both men decided that they don't want that. Can you imagine, never mind any other line of work, just any other wrestling scenario where, you know what? Edge and Seth Rollins have decided they don't want to hurt themselves in Hell in a Cell. So the match is off. They can just have a regular match. It's just a weird thing to have said and then immediately retract.
I really don't understand their philosophy behind this. You can argue to a certain extent that, maybe the reason that they wanted to do some of these things is that, I mean, we've talked about this before, too. The idea that they want to spread things out. They want to do things where it's like, well, we'll save this announcement for Twitter. We'll save this announcement for this. We'll do that. So maybe there's this person that thinks that it's a good strategy to do things like, well, we'll announce something on the kickoff, and then that way it'll get people talking, so we'll start trending immediately. But that's where you do the false count anywhere thing. That's not where you add a no DQ stipulation and then 10 minutes later go, never mind. Because then you know what that made all the Twitter buzz? About how stupid that is. Uh-oh, we're losing our connection here. Can anybody else hear that? Can anybody else hear me? We got an issue going on here.
Is it coming back?
I think we might be back.
Oh no, they come. Yeah, I think the issue was...
Is that they're upset that I'm complaining about this?
Either that or it's me.
I don't know for sure. In the chat, let us know if you guys are hearing us. It seems like everything's working okay, but you should have heard that the Skype thing was disconnecting us for a moment there. All right, so Ben says that he can hear us. Then it seems like we're going on. So let's continue complaining about this little part. Back to where I was saying before. I was so rudely interrupted by Skype. Jerk. I don't understand this idea because the Twitter buzz at that time became, what the fuck is WWE doing here? Why would you do an announcement for this and then take it away? And then that's all anybody was talking about, was how ridiculous that was. So if their strategy was to do something to get people talking, don't get people talking negatively about that. But if that strategy wasn't that, and it was just a miscalculation and miscommunication, you gotta talk to each other. Like, who books this? Who says, let's announce that it's no DQ and then go, nah, fuck it.
Well, I think that they had a plan, and they probably told Kayla to announce the thing, and then like last second they said, you know, it works better the way they actually did it. So they said, yeah, just scrap it.
Plan out ahead of time, guys. Don't be like the hour leading into the show where you're still trying to figure out the outcome.
Because that would have given the show 4 hardcore matches, if you count Triple Threats being Extreme Rules. Like, Extreme Rules didn't have that many hardcore matches. Didn't have any.
But that's not an issue, and it wouldn't have been a problem to just keep this a regular match. So they made it worse by saying that it was going to be something and then immediately retracting it, because either they didn't plan it out or they planned out something really dumb. You know, there's no way around it. Like, there is no positive that comes out of that kind of a thing, right?
What you say is, shut up.
I hate it. I hate it when WWE does that.
You ever think about just shut up?
That is something that I'll never give WWE the benefit of the doubt for. Like, no, that's dumb. That's just dumb. And I want to hear these stories. I want Pritchard to be able to, on something to wrestle with, I want him to be able to, like, tell Conrad, this is the flub that happened there.
And, like, I guarantee you the story itself isn't as juicy as we would want it to be. It's just probably literally, yeah, this happened. Shut up.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, guys, don't make that a regular thing where you have these weird, stupid things and there's always something wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I joke about some of the littler things and stuff too, in particular, but like, it took them up until today to fix the Seth Rollins versus Edge graphic, where somebody had typed it out where they had all caps for everything except for the S in Rollins.
Yeah. That happens sometimes. As somebody who does a lot of these things and will make the occasional mistake, that happens.
Yeah. An occasional mistake is an occasional mistake. I did it when we're doing our stuff that you guys are going to be checking out in a couple weeks, where we did our ultimate card of all time. Processed the video, made a graphic that had one typo in it, and then I had to reprocess the whole video. But you know what happened? I fixed it before I uploaded it, and you guys aren't going to see the version that has the typo on it. And that's one mistake with that. Now this is a live thing where, we had this little Skype error, and I can't, stop that, but creative is a different story. Like, they should have had the outcome for this before they finished booking Brock versus Reigns. And at the very least, you have it set up before the end of the week leading into this. And then you don't start this, like, I don't know. That's just one of these things that I'm going to be like, I'm going to harp on as like, this was really stupid, but thankfully it wasn't a sign of things to come with the rest of the night. It ended up being a lot of good things on this card and not just like total chaos and nonsensical kind of crap. But that's the notes that I have for the kickoff. Anything else that you think there's worth talking about?
Nope. Good match. Glad to see the Hurt Business together. The crowd was super into everything, and we were off to the races.
So we started things off with a Hell in a Cell match. Edge against Seth Rollins. The 50th Hell in a Cell match.
And shout out to Ben in the chat who mentioned if you remove the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, it takes out 29 of those matches. And then I did the math, and that comes out to 21 matches in 24 years, and that sounds so much better because it's not even one a year.
And that's kind of how it should be. And we've talked about how watered down the Hell in a Cell is, how it shouldn't be a pay-per-view, so we don't need to get into all that. But I will say this. For being a match that I didn't think was going to be all that great, and that it would just be, well, they're going to hit each other with kendo sticks a couple times, and that's going to be it, and it's going to be a regular match or whatever. This was a damn good match.
Best red cage I've ever seen. Best red Hell in a Cell I've ever seen. I'll specify it like that before everybody wants to get jumped down my throat about whatever, but
you can't compare this to Foley and Undertaker. You just can't.
Yeah, but as modern cells go, that was the best one, and I think honestly none of their matches disappointed. They upped the intensity with every one of their matches, and this was the final match. I know that because Michael Cole said it 5 times. This was everything it should have been, and I commend both of them. Absolutely one of the best matches I've seen all year.
Yeah, this was rock solid. I'm going to use that phrase in lesser terms from some other matches, but I really enjoyed this. This was one of my favorite matches the whole night. The spots that they had weren't, the craziest spots we've ever seen, but when you get a spot here or there and ends up being pretty cool, then it's pretty cool. It's, what's the phrase that I've been saying for the longest time? Good things are good. And if it was a good thing, it's a good thing. This is a good thing. We got a spot, for instance, that I liked a lot where Edge pushed Rollins off of the turnbuckle, so he smacks into the cage and then falls through a table.
I'm going to nitpick about one thing here. Stop the ultimate, let's show it slower and let's show it from this angle. Stop. Because by the third time they showed it, you could see that Rollins barely hit the cell and, glided down to the table. When you first see it in real time, it looks so gnarly. Leave it alone. I know your production is great. Leave it alone because sometimes you hinder yourself.
All the more reason why I'm glad that I didn't bother to check out the replays then. The replay, sometimes I'm like, all right, thankfully they did that because I missed that split second or whatever. That one, I'm like, all right, and then we type out about how I liked it instead. But I liked that. I liked the sunset flip powerbomb off the ladder through the table. I like that the match ended with Edge hitting a stomp on the steel chair because it's kind of like a little FU to Rollins.
So he's beaten him with a crossface and the stomp. He did not ever beat him with the spear.
Yeah, this was just a damn good match to kick this off.
Damn good Hell in a Cell. Rollins best easily. Edge's only been in 2, and the other one was with the Undertaker, so hard pressed, but great matches.
Then we went into Mansoor versus Mustafa Ali, and I thought that the crowd didn't pop as much for Mansoor as I thought that they would.
I thought they did.
It didn't sound too much to me, and I wrote down a little Simpsons joke. I was like, oh, it's the acoustics. It's just kind of all the people not laughing at Krusty's joke. But The match was solid. There was a couple spots where, again, it seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of crowd reaction. Like, there's a spot in the match where Ali is, beaten down on Mansoor, and Mansoor starts fighting back, and that would be a moment that normally people would be like, yeah, like he's fighting back. It seemed like they were just sort of dead. But I like the finish.
Yeah, I think you might not have been paying too much attention. Like, I'm not saying they were super electric, but they were there for it. And Ali was perfect as a heel, just easy, simple, cheap heat. Things that, like, would work in the 80s kind of heat. I liked all of that.
I like that. I liked the finish with the jump over the rope into the neck breaker kind of deal. And of course,
yeah, that's a cool finish for him.
Mansoor wins the way that we expected. So, hometown boy gets his big win. But after that, Ali attacks him. And I'm immediately thinking, and probably you and probably most people are going, all right, what's this going to set up? Like, who's coming out?
I did not think that because I subscribe to Fightful Select, who let you know that Olympian Tariq Hamdi was going to be there. So I knew he was coming. But the interesting part was the way they set this up. So he comes out in fully covered up, and he's walking slowly to the ring. And Cole and Graves are like, I don't know who this is. Whoever he is, he's taking his sweet time. He takes off his face covering and place blows because it's an Olympian from Saudi Arabia. And Cole and Graves sell it. Ali does the, cheeky baby face. Oh, you want to go? You want to go? Runs into a kick, gets knocked out, place blows. Easy. I loved it because you need more of that. You know what I mean?
I think that kind of spectacle stuff is something that's really, really good. This in particular, of course, meant absolutely nothing to me because I had never heard of this guy before whatsoever. So I was just sort of like, oh, it's a guy in another country that won something. He won a silver medal. Not that that's like, oh, you won a silver medal, but it's like it's not, one of those kind of deals. At the Olympics that I didn't watch in an event that I wouldn't have really been into anyway.
Well, whose fault is that?
Like, to me, I'm not going crazy over it at all, but it's like, plenty of people are. And it's for press coverage. It's for media coverage. That's what they're doing that for. They're not doing it to like appeal to each individual person. You got to have a variety. It's, not everything's for everybody. So like, I have no issue with that whatsoever. But I did find it kind of interesting that I spent a good 5-10 minutes trying to figure out who this guy was, because all I had gotten from it, because I mean they said his name and I'm like, I don't know how to spell his name. I don't know who he is.
I did have to look up how to spell his name.
And Michael Cole referred to him as a karate player,
which is the actual proper terminology.
That just came off to me as like he's one of the karate fighters or something, like oh, you play karate.
What is it, Milton Bradley gonna make a toy out of him?
Yeah, like, you can have like football player, baseball player, whatever, so I guess karate player would make some sense, but like I've never heard of the phrase karate player before. I've only ever heard of like martial artist, karate master, that kind of deal. Not karate player. Now I'm just picturing people like, hey, you played kick me too hard. Like, so, I mean, it's a moment that's going to get them some coverage. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Then they had a thing about the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Zara Association.
They had, I don't know if they've ever done this before, but they had the Zara Association, which is like the Saudi Arabian equivalent of, I guess, what Susan G. Komen does.
That was kind of nice too. Do they do the same underhanded tactics that apparently Susan G. Komen is responsible for?
No comment.
Because I don't know, if you look a little bit into that, it seems like there's some issues. I hope that they're not the equivalent.
I've heard that several times, but yeah, it appears they're a little louder now.
Yeah, I have no problem at all, of course, with people trying to celebrate things like, oh man, this is amazing that you can overcome breast cancer and all this other kind of stuff or whatever. But I've heard some bad things about Susan G. Komen, so that's a topic that AEW is into right now. They're under some fire for that, which people are calling out CM Punk's old tweets, and he had said, "We're working on it," which is like, it's not what you're looking for when you're trying to get the bad or the good press coverage of like, look at this, we're like champions of like this awareness thing, and then it's like people start going directly into corruption and whatnot. But it's cool. They had Titus O'Neil out there. They got Natalya out there. They had the 4 women that they didn't like spend much time dedicating anything. Like this woman is this name and this name, and like they've done in the past. This was pretty much just like, here's some commemorative belts. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Check out the Czar Association, etc. Titus over this. He had 2 different segments on here. They did the Be a Star thing too, and
which I haven't heard Be a Star in so long. I was like, oh, we're still doing that, are we? Like,
don't be a bully, be a star, says Becky Lynch when her character on TV is being a bully.
You know what I gotta say though, I did think it was really cute that Greg Hamilton asks, has any WWE superstar here been bullied? And they all put their hands up, and the kids actually go, what? Like, they were surprised to see it. I thought that was cute. Like, okay, it doesn't always have to be like, oh, this is a bad thing. Like, they're doing some good there as well.
Yeah. I thought it was funny too when McIntyre is talking to the one kid, and it's like, oh, what do you like to do or whatever? And she's like, oh, I like to cook or whatever. And then he's like, I like to eat. Just I like that. That took us into the Raw Tag Team Championship match, which was a repeat basically of what we have seen before, minus the fact that Riddle came out on a camel.
That was awesome.
Like, that's the talking point. Riddle came out on a fucking camel.
Well, yeah. What would you expect the talking point to be of a tag team championship match?
I mean,
certainly not the wrestling.
Right. That's hence why there's a section of my my biggest takeaways article that literally just says WWE is about the spectacle. Like, they don't care about the match. The match didn't exist for any reason other than to have Riddle come out on a camel. And he did. That's all they cared about. So that's all I really care about either. The match was good, but then again, look at who's involved.
Yeah, I mean, AJ, who is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Randy Orton, who Saudi Arabia loves Randy Orton, and Riddle was surprisingly really over in Saudi Arabia too. Like, obviously they're not just like there to pop for Mansoor, but it's always cool when, okay, these people are actually super into the product. It's nice when fans are actually just into the thing, and they're not into like, oh man, we gotta boo, we gotta get ourselves over, and like, it was just nice to have fun. Like, this seemed like a very fun show.
Yeah, you got lots of bro chants, and big pops for Randy Orton, of course, and a RKO after the phenomenal forearm. People go nuts for that. So they had fun.
Michael Cole acts like he's never seen it before.
Right.
It's great. Again, just a fun thing on a fun show. Because fun things are fun.
And, same kind of criticism happens with a lot of things. I've seen it before, so it doesn't resonate as well for me because it was just a rerun. But if I hadn't seen the other match, like, you view this in a bubble, good match. So
great match.
Backstage, they couldn't help themselves. Clearly, they thought it was funny when Becky had said that she knows how a triple threat works. So for the 3rd time, she has to say that.
The 3rd time?
The 3rd time.
Sorry.
And that basically just exists to go into the Queen's Crown tournament final that the crowd could not give the slightest shit about.
In fairness, I get it. Like,
It's Doudrop versus Zelina Vega. Look, let's be honest here. As great as many different people are, sometimes people are not high up on the totem pole. And Zelina Vega, for instance, we've talked about this before, to use the phrase that I've said before on this podcast, even on this episode 3 times or something. Zelina Vega is somebody that we've talked about being like, how come she doesn't ever get like a push, like a real push? And man, it'd be great if she went to AEW and she could be somebody who's a bigger deal in that women's division, and she's more capable than this, and so on and so forth. And, despite that, she hasn't been booked well. It's just definitive. This isn't a criticism of her. This is a criticism of how WWE has booked her. They have made her a jobber. And she typically loses her matches very quickly, to the point that when she got her first win on this, it was like she beat Toni Storm. Holy shit. And then she continued to win to the point that she gets here. And it's like, I don't know. WWE sometimes has this mentality where they think that you could lose 1 million matches, but if we start getting you to win 3 in a row, that those 3 are the ones that matter. Because that's the story we want to tell, is just ignore it, whatever. So they want you to ignore Zelina Vega being like that.
The idea that everything is its own season. Like a television show, for example. And it's, okay, this is the season where Zelina's going to win. Like, this is her time to shine now. That could very well be what we get here. I will say, I was all in on Carmella or Liv Morgan, but I knew it would be the winner of Carmella and Vega against Doudrop, and I didn't think Doudrop was going to be queen. And I'm glad Zelina's queen, and I'm super into this. Like, this could be something fun for her character. Those people did not know who Doudrop was, and I felt bad. Like, she tried. You could see it was like,
well, that's really awkward too, because I am 100% sold on the idea that they told her she needs to ham it up. And she, the past couple of weeks, has been full force doing this finger twiddle and lip syncing her lyrics, and just like beaming a smile in a fake way. And not that, like, of course, that she wouldn't be like normally smiling or whatever, excited, but like, it just comes off very disingenuous, very just manufactured, and I hate it with a passion, because I'm just like, that seems stupid, and I don't think that that's going to catch on. But here, it was so awkward, because it was like she didn't know if she should or not, so she did it half-assed.
Finger twiddle, so she's like fist pumping and like, yeah, it's the white meat baby face at an indie show, just going, let's go, you guys, and they have no idea who he is, and they're there to see, like, Demolition, so they're just like, okay, yay.
Like, she can't do the finger twiddle because she's not like around the people, so it's not like, let's do that. Like, she does it she's been pointing to people in the crowd and being like, stick your hands out and do this with me, please, that kind of thing, like, please, what's the thing from Jeb Bush, the please clap. Like, it's that kind of a thing where it's like, please do that, like, in relation to me, so I can do that around and we can make this a thing, and then maybe that can catch on. And you can't do that when you're, a couple feet away from the people. So instead, she's just finger twiddling toward the people. And then it kind of realizes that, like, okay, well, that's not really working right. So she kind of is just sort of like, I don't know what to do. I felt really bad about it, because it's like, she's in a position that it's no win. If she goes too bouncy and bubbly and all over the place, they'll probably be like, hey, you got to tone it down. And if she doesn't do any of that, they'll be like, well, you got no fucking personality. What the hell? You're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Right now, she won. She'll probably feud with Vega over the crown. Eventually, maybe that's why they moved Charlotte from the show, because Charlotte is the queen, but now the queen will be on Raw, and it'll be Vega. I think Doudrop will be fine. And I'm glad she'll
bounce back from this. It's not like this loss is the end of her career.
But right now, it's super cool for Vega, who got fired on November 13th last year, so almost a year ago. So, super cool to see her finally getting back in there.
Yeah, I'm not sold on this tournament having been a great idea. I think at this point it kind of feels more like a dud than anything else because most of the matches were like a minute and a half long. It just drew criticism, and I don't think that this was a particularly great match. I don't think that the crowd gave a shit, and I'm not all that hopeful that this is going to be something that they're really going to push Zelina heavily on.
I can tell you the first angle for this, though. Oh, she's on Team Raw for Survivor Series. Now, of course, Bianca thinks she should be the leader of Team Raw because she headlined Mania and all that. But Zelina's queen. So how will they coexist?
Can they coexist? It's like one of those.
By the way, my favorite internal storyline is WWE wrestlers making fun of the "Can they coexist" storyline on Twitter. Just be like, I don't know, can we possibly coexist? It's great.
So I feel bad for the whole Queen's Crown thing, but it's just there's a lot of awkwardness about it, including the idea that Zelina goes to the crown, puts it on, puts on the robe, and it's like I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Like, this is not going to be a picture that they use. Because she's got on a full bodysuit and a t-shirt on top of that. And you're not going to want the crowning of Queen Zelina Vega. If it matters at all, you're not going to want it to be the picture of her wearing a t-shirt. You're going to want her, because she has elaborate outfits that are like, would have been a step above what they probably would normally do for anybody that would win a Queen of the Ring type of a thing anyway. And, you know, she always like, goes into like cosplaying, and she is of course very attractive, so she's got these like very sexy outfits and everything. They're gonna do a crowning on Raw,
and for God's sake, that's the first thing we said when we did the previews. Is like, yeah, they're gonna do a crowning.
They're gonna milk it for an extra segment
for Raw, first of all, and then like you can't do what you would normally do here because yeah, they are all covered up. But still, that cape did not want to work with anybody.
So it's just, that became awkward too. And it's like, yeah, the crowning moment, technically speaking, is not going to be the thing that they ever really show. They'll show, if they do any video packages, they'll show what they do on Monday Night Raw.
And I think they'll show the pinfall.
Yeah, and then they'll cut over into the other things.
And then it'll be like, smooth transition to the crowning on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. So, talking about smooth transitions, if you want to make sure that you are smooth, you might want to check out our sponsors for this episode, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/smark and get 20% off and free shipping on any of your orders that you pick up over there, whether it is, as you can see on your screen right now, things like the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer. You can check out their different products that are on their deodorant type of sides or their body washes that they just came out with some different things. And they got some more products that are coming out soon as well. We're going to have some Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals a month from now because, I mean, this is the 21st of October, but that's something to keep in mind too. These things are going to make some great Christmas gifts, so keep that in mind. If you want to pick up something like the shear kit, that's already been something that Caroline and I had gotten as a gift for her dad. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people that you know that could use these types of products, including yourself. And if you're interested in any of them, manscaped.com/smark. Great products for great prices, especially with that 20% off and the free shipping on that. Fully recommend a lot of the different things here. I got confirmation at this point now that I can endorse the idea that I will be wearing the Manscaped boxers during my wedding because, as Caroline said, you really should because they look so good on you. So that's an endorsement. We know what's happening when it comes to
That's going to lead to a question that I'll ask you later, but that's kind of funny. That's how good they are. They will be worn on this man's wedding night. So there's a trick or treat for you on Halloween.
So definitely go to manscaped.com/smark and take advantage of the URL and the discount while you can. And we're going to switch back over to talking about a Falls Count Anywhere match that was originally No Holds Barred, and then, of course, it becomes No Holds Barred, plus the pinfall can take place anywhere, and that is Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg, which you would think if this was going to change in anything, it would be turning into a I'm going to kill you match kind of thing.
Okay. So I loved watching the kickoff and the bump and all that, and they're just like, well, Goldberg has said things, and he can't even repeat what he said because kill and murder and death are all banned words by WWE, but Goldberg's just like, yeah, you give me a license to kill, I'm going to kill you. Fantastic.
Now, when he said that gives me a license to kill, did you think, bum, bum, ba-da-da-da-da?
Well, no, Cesaro wasn't coming out. It's not 2014, but I would have, because License to Kill is one of the better James Bond movies. Go check out a Review to a Kill series on Band Boys Anonymous.
I fully recommend you check out the full A Review to a Kill series over on fanboysanonymous.com. But if you want to hear me gushing about one of my favorite Bond movies of all time, License to Kill is, if not my number 2, then my number 3 favorite of all time. And just absolutely love that movie. I will say I love License to Kill the movie much better than the Falls Count Anywhere match, but that's not to say that this was a bad match, because this was a good match.
This was my favorite Goldberg match since the original Lesnar matches at Survivor Series and WrestleMania.
They start off with Bobby Lashley wrapping a chain around his fist and using that to get the advantage on Goldberg. They did some power moves here and there. Lashley missed a spear through the table. Goldberg hits another spear. He pulls off the jackhammer, despite the fact that they had worked on his leg.
On a bad leg.
Yeah. So, I was thinking that they were going to do the bad leg to excuse that if he wasn't able to do it, it could be like, see, he couldn't do it because he couldn't pick him up because of the bad leg, but he pulls it off. And we get a little interference from the Hurt Business. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin bring out kendo sticks and immediately in one shot get taken out, because who fucking cares? Vince McMahon logic is, we'll sacrifice them and throw them.
They were hurt from their match with the Usos, you see.
Is that why they were Hurt Business?
Yeah, that's why the Hurt Business.
The Get Hurt Business. Before we move to the next part that I was going to say, Michael in the chat says, I'm way behind on A Review to a Kill. Just finished watching Octopussy. I highly recommend listening. It's a great accessory to a series rewatch. Thank you for the endorsement, Michael. And I endorse the endorsement of the podcast that we did. We had a lot of fun doing that thing. That's one of my favorite things that we've ever done. And I absolutely love doing that. So if you are a James Bond fan, check out fanboysanonymous.com and check that out. We go highly into detail of a lot of things, even more than we do with these pay-per-view points. But going back to that, here's an issue that I have. So Goldberg gets the kendo stick, hits Lashley a couple times, breaks it in half then and throws it away. And I'm like, all right, I mean, you could kind of use it. And instead he spears Lashley off the stage. They crash into 3 different tables, and that's the end of the match. And I'm thinking, all right, well, that's kind of it, but all right, fine. Whatever. The bigger deal is Lashley is laying down there, or it's, supposed to be like, oh man, he's so beaten down and it's so crazy and whatever. And Goldberg says, which I think it's don't ever mess with my family. And immediately afterward, the commentary team's like, oh, Lashley's getting up.
Well, I think they wanted that to have more of an impact, but yeah, that was a little weird. Still very fun, though.
I mean, it undersells the whole thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to kill you for going after my family. I'll beat you. And then within a couple seconds where I haven't even left the stage, they're immediately selling the idea that you're getting up, you're fine.
Yeah, but I think it's because, Lashley's going to be there to lead Team Raw at Survivor Series, and he can't look too weak, Goldberg did his thing, he's fine.
So where do you think that this all, if you're going to judge this as worthwhile or not for all this, we set up the Gage thing. Gage doesn't do anything. I'm going to kill you. I'll just win a match. You'll get right up afterward. We got to save Bobby Lashley's reputation, et cetera, et cetera. How are we kind of assessing the full scope of this?
Well, Lashley, like I said, is going to be on Team Raw, and that's going to be the main thing there. And Goldberg, he's like, my favorite title is being a father. He'll fight Big E at the Royal Rumble.
He'll fight who?
That's Big E at the Royal Rumble.
Big E and Goldberg?
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Big E wants to have a Goldberg match.
I think, because if you ask between Goldberg, Big E, and Goldberg Roman, they might shift it to Roman, but I think that it should be Big E because he wants it, and I think that should count for something.
I mean, if they've got Big E as WWE champion and they've got Goldberg coming in for specialty matches and they know Big E really wants to have a match with Goldberg, they should do the match.
They should just do the match, yes.
There's really no reason why they shouldn't. Because Big E wins, and it makes Big E look better. Goldberg could take a loss. He's lost a couple other times.
Honestly, they need to decide whether or not they really want Big E to be a big deal. No pun intended. Because I'm not seeing it yet.
Now, Big E is not having the strongest championship reign, and we'll get into.
It's hard to when it's kind of like in the middle of a weird time, but he's not having the strongest championship reign.
Yeah, they're seemingly very hesitant to fully push him as, okay, well, this guy's even to the level of what Drew McIntyre was, and we'll get into that or whatever. But a win with Goldberg would go quite a way into kind of pushing that to another step.
Right.
Goldberg's not the unstoppable juggernaut that he once was, but he's still Goldberg. He's still a former multi-time world champion that was nigh unstoppable for the longest time.
Yep, and I think Big E Goldberg. It's kind of like the Woods.
It sounded like it was the full name, Big E Goldberg.
I think it's kind of like the Xavier Woods King of the Ring thing, where it's now it's becoming a thing that people want to see because they know that the guy wants it. So it means more to them and it means more to the people. Yeah. And to me, that's an easy win for the Royal Rumble if Big E's still champion by then.
True. I mean, you can never count out the idea that something else could happen. Maybe he even lost the championship here. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. He didn't. He probably know. But let's talk about the King of the Ring tournament final. It was Finn Balor against Xavier Woods. And I quite literally spent the entire match just going, man, I hope that Xavier wins this. And I couldn't really get into the match because I was just nervous about that.
Yeah, I had to actually, it was my go-around on the doing the results, and I'm like, fucking right about Woods losing.
Yeah.
I hope he wins. And by God, Tony, he won.
He wins, and I'm like, yes! I don't know if it's up on the thing. I don't know if it's been edited or changed or whatever, but my reaction on my biggest takeaways on Bleacher, it actually is about good things are good with Xavier Woods winning this. It's dreams come true and good things are good. Because it's just, man, Woods wanted this for so many years. And when you know that that's the case, and you know that it's this doesn't hurt anything at all for him to win this. It's not like this is, we spent a year building up Roman as the champion for WrestleMania. Then Woods says, I'd like to be champion at Mania and let's just completely undo it or something. Yeah, then you start getting into Everybody wants to win the Royal Rumble and then win the main event of WrestleMania and be WWE champion, but not everybody can do it. But Xavier Woods is like, hey, I kind of want to just be the King of the Ring. And for years, before they even bothered to resurrect the tournament, he's just like, yeah, I kind of just want to win King of the Ring. Can I like just do that? Like, that'd be pretty neat. So if they would have made him get close but no cigar, I'd have been real pissed because I would have been like, come on. That's like being mean, you know?
Yeah, and I was fully in the mindset of, well, they're not going to give it to him because they'll say the money's in the chase and the money's in, but now you have a story because now we know this thing and now Woods has a story, and they just gave it to him. And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, good things are good. Like,
yeah.
It was so cool to see him crying and he puts the crown on, and the whole wrestling world has reacted to him becoming King of the Ring. Just a couple of them here, Mia Yim, Hail King Woods, Top Dollar, King Xavier, all hail your new king. Liv Morgan, Destiny Fulfilled, congratulations to Xavier. Marco Stunt, hell yeah, Austin Creed. Big Swole, congratulated him. One of the FTR, Cash was watching, and he said King Woods. Like, Malcolm Bivens, fantastic. I'm at Waffle House watching on my iPad, and everyone just screamed, "All hail King Woods!"
He's at Waffle House watching this. What?
No, he tweets bullshit.
I still wouldn't even imagine that would have been like the direction to tweet something funny about that.
It's awesome to see him.
So good.
Happy.
So I mean, even if nothing comes out of this, the fact that he got that, like, he's marking out, he's like, I'm gonna have all the power now. If I say cut away from the commercials or something, I do it. Like, that kind of, fuck yeah, man. Good things are good.
Yeah. Good. This was great.
Awesome. Piano Man's joined the chat. Robert says, so glad that he won. I mean, he needs a happy moment since Tyler Breeze and Adam Cole left.
Yeah, there's that too. By the way, G4 starts on November 16th. Like, this dude's he's living all of his dreams. Half of his job with WWE is to run a gaming channel. He's teaming with two people he legitimately considers his brothers. He's one King of the Ring. He will be a G4 host. Xavier Woods is that, like, rare once-in-a-lifetime exception where good things happen to good people, and it just makes you feel so much better about the world.
Yeah, that is a feel-good moment for sure. And, like, King Balor, under other circumstances, I'd be totally down for. That seems pretty sweet. I was going to say rad, and I was going to say sweet, and I said rad. It's kind of swad. That's a new one. There you go. That's totally swad. But even more swad is King Xavier Woods. Jay, who runs a WWE blog, he was like, they're going to split them up, aren't they? I'm like, oh man, that would be so of WWE to be like, all right, well then now we're going to do that. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that they're just going to go along with this the way that it is. And I'm just happy that Woods actually won and that they didn't play that kind of, we got you kind of, last minute swerve bullshit.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Because honestly, once it came down to, because I'm like, oh god, they're going to give it to Jinder. Once Woods got past Jinder, it became, oh boy, what are they going to do here? And they actually gave it to Xavier. And I'm so happy. I don't care what they do going forward. It's just like, he won the crown. Crown don't mean shit. Corbin, it didn't mean anything for Corbin. It hasn't meant anything for Barrett or Sheamus.
The only thing that was really important to the fact that Austin did it was the promo he cut afterward. He could have cut that same promo on another thing, like we've talked about with the idea.
Brock won it, and that was important because he won the title match at SummerSlam. But it means very little to very few people. I can see this going to his head, though. I can see an easy storyline. Not that I want them to split up the New Day, but if you do a storyline where it's like, okay, this thing's going to your head, man. You really think like you're the king of something. And that might be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
I want them to have as much fun with it as they can. And I think that the New Day at this point, they've proven that they're creative enough and that they can kind of make their own stories out of whatever they want to do. If I'm Vince, I'm going to go, okay, you're King of the Ring. Tell me your ideas. And just listen. See what they can think of.
And I think they're probably one of the few acts that they can go, okay, we'll listen.
Yeah. So, major thumbs up on that. Moving over to the WWE Championship match, Big E retains over Drew McIntyre in a pretty standard back and forth kind of slugfest. And, yeah, I mean, the crowd's chanting for McIntyre, the crowd's chanting for Big E. They were chanting something at one point that I just couldn't understand. And I wish I could go back right now and like just try to listen to it over and over again, but I'm not going to do that. Partially because you're just going to hear it on the feed, and then I'd have to edit it out and it'd be a copyright thing. But yeah, it was about what I was expecting.
Yeah, and it was fine. Like I feel like I've already said what I had to say about this because I said I don't feel like Big E is there yet.
Yeah,
but he's fighting Roman.
They didn't give him the strongest win, but at the same time, he's up against McIntyre, and you don't want to neuter McIntyre to do that. You don't have to push somebody down to put somebody else up on a higher pedestal. And these guys just had a match that Big E happened to win. Nothing wrong with that. You know, they're the current WWE champion, the guy who is a 2-time champion, 1 champion, or 2 champions before that because I forgot about the Miz. So yeah, that makes sense. They have a match, they try. McIntyre comes up short, and instead of doing the handshake, he gives him a thumbs up, and Big E saying, respect to you because you brought the fight to it, but like I got some plans with this championship and whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool, it's good enough. No issues.
Well, how far do you think they've really planned with this championship? The WWE title's taken a huge backseat since Roman Reigns became a SmackDown guy.
To answer your question of how far have they planned, not. I don't think that they have. I think that they have literally zero plans other than that they thought, well, we'll do the Big E thing. And when they got around the point of having him cash in, they were like, that way we'll do Big E versus Roman at Survivor Series. I don't think they have any plans for Royal Rumble, Mania, Day 1, Elimination Chamber. They did a commercial on this.
No TLC official.
No TLC, and they also did not advertise Fastlane.
Are they cutting back? I'm all for them cutting back on pay-per-views, but wow, they might be cutting back on pay-per-views unless they just didn't want to announce Super Showdown yet.
Well, yeah, they didn't do anything with that either. So they did the thing that they do once in a while where they're like, hey, there's shows coming into the network and everything, which is like, you could have fucking fooled me because there's nothing that's been added to the network in like months. But they're like, icons, we're going to air those episodes that we had recorded 2 years ago or whatever. And they're going to have another 24 special here and there. They're going to do this new show called The Build 2, which is like, you guys know how to build things. Okay. Did you build that no DQ match? The advertisement also included the list of the pay-per-views going forward, which they made that a regular thing. And that's usually how we get our information about like, every once in a while it'll be like, oh, that's kind of weird that they had Clash of Champions at this time instead. And maybe they're going to rearrange the card and whatever for the calendar year, not the card. Card's always subject to change though. But they ran the list of like, hey, Survivor Series is coming up. And then it's Day 1. And then it's Royal Rumble. And then Elimination Chamber. And then Mania. No Fastlane. No Super Showdown. No TLC. I'm okay with it.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. If you can deliver high quality shows like tonight, I'd be okay with less shows because really all you need to be is good. You don't like the content needs to stop somewhere and you need to be good. You know what I mean?
You can focus on one pay-per-view a month, and ideally you spend 3 weeks building it up. The 4th week is the go home and the pay-per-view. And then you spend the next week with the fallout and starting to build to the other thing. That's how it should really go. You don't need to have 2 pay-per-views a month. Now, this also does not include NXT shows because they never advertise NXT for that. Because why would they? It's only like it's a WWE product where it makes perfect sense to kind of try to promote their stuff. But we're talking about a brand that doesn't have shows listed on their shows page. So, I still don't know when, for sure, when main event is still. It's on Thursdays, I think.
It's, no, it's on Saturdays.
Saturdays?
Well, are you talking about like when it's released on? It's released on Hulu on Thursdays.
Right.
But it's released on the network on Saturdays, like a month behind.
Insane. So, anyway,
that's writing out that Hulu deal, baby.
I can't wait till that ends and they just cut the feeds. So after that, we had another really good match, the triple threat match for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
and not that I would expect it not to be, given the 3 women involved.
Exactly.
But given the environment, you never know. Maybe they want the women's match cut short because the women's wrestling is still new over there. But no, they had like a straight up match, and it was really, really good.
Again, I'm confused about the whole full body gear with a t-shirt.
It's gotta be a WWE.
But you brought up a good point about that. That's what I wanted to get into because I can't see it being anything other than that. They have full body gear on. Sasha Banks has this like ornate thing happening and a t-shirt over it. Like, it has to be what you said in our chat, which is that this is a WWE call to try to call attention to merchandise.
Except for the fact that Sasha and Bianca's shirts looked custom made. Bianca's shirt was literally just a graffiti font graphic that said EST and a little bit of bedazzling. Sasha had her logo, but it was in green and it was bedazzled. And I'm like, I don't know if they sell those. So unless they're selling them exclusively at Saudi, that throws a monkey wrench into things. But who knows? Maybe it's just like an extra added precaution or stipulation or something. But like, I think it's a WWE move to like, hey girls, you want to be like them? Buy their shirts.
It's just odd to me. Like, why bother going through the whole full body gear thing if you're just going to put a t-shirt on underneath it? Then just wear regular Under Armour or whatever. I don't know. But then again, we get into the politics of the whole thing, and I'm not fucking having that argument. One of my favorite parts of this match, though, Bianca picks up Sasha for a press and holds her up in one hand.
And what a perfect place to do that. First of all, it's easy as fuck. And what crowd is going to pop for that larger than a crowd that maybe is a little, like they're not used to that sort of thing. So it's even more fresh for them. And then it's like, yeah, you're showing off, hey, look, women can be strong too. Hey, look, to the little girls in the front row, like, this could be you. Like, perfect.
Very cool moment. And Becky Lynch retains by rolling up Sasha Banks and holding onto the ropes, which is perfectly legal in a triple threat match. So the heel plays up a heel
Michael
thing.
Cole was quick to tell Byron Jackson, doesn't matter, triple threat. Love it.
Very cool. So good match with a good outcome. I hate the idea we're doing this whole swapping the belts thing, most likely, but...
So they were very big on that. Now, it doesn't mean that we won't, but clearly, Bex and Charlotte, they don't have the relationship that the New Day and the Street Profits do, where it could just be like, hey, buddy, I like red, oh, I like blue. So either they're going to mandate a swap, or we'll find out. Or maybe they'll do a thing where it'll be like, well, we're taking the other belt with us to Survivor Series. And after the match, or right before the match, we can do the, fine, you take the SmackDown belt, I'll take the Raw belt, because we're going to our respective shows, but I'm coming into the show with your belt.
You get caught up in a hurricane right now, Rob? What's going on?
Yeah, I have one open. I got caught up in a UPS truck.
Suddenly it's as you're swept up in a tornado. Like, yeah, I mean, the plan is going to be something to swap the belts in some fashion. They can't obviously keep the Raw Women's Championship over on SmackDown and vice versa. But
would have been a really cool, like, hey, Sasha wins. Hey, look, you saw a women's champion crown in Saudi Arabia. just to get the belt back on SmackDown. And then, like, you could even do a thing where Charlotte would have lost it to Bianca on Raw or something, just to get a quick switch that isn't just, here's your belt, okay.
Yeah, because they're going to have the title swap, and then they're going to constitute it a championship win anyway. And it's just going to add another one to Charlotte's resume. It's going to add another one to Becky.
Why they want to do it.
Maybe. I think more than anything, they just literally were like talking to Fox, and they said, we'll give you a Charlotte. Is that good enough? Is that going to shut you up? And then it's like, well, what do? We can't have her as champion over on there with the other one. And they're like, yeah, we can. Just fuck it. Like, I really think that that's how they looked at it.
To a degree. Like, I don't want to excuse them for it. But then I also want to be like, they're not wrong. You know, like, it is sort of just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't always have to be a big, to do, like, we're going to give you Charlotte. We didn't really plan on that, so we'll figure it out as we go. But they should ideally figure these things out beforehand.
They really, really should. They should take the effort to take 20 minutes to figure it out. Checking up in the chat, right? Going back to a previous thing, Michael in the chat had said, I'd rather there be 6 to 8 amazing pay-per-views a year instead of 12 to 16 mess shows. Fully agreed.
Yeah. I don't know who would disagree with that, and if they disagree, they're wrong.
Finally, we're going to round things out with the Universal Championship match that is not no DQ, despite the fact that that's what they had announced and then immediately reneged on it. And the entrances took a long time or whatever. And I'm thinking,
did I win the fantasy league bet on the entrances alone?
Yeah,
that Roman Reigns entrance took a long time.
Well, the entrances don't count towards that, I would assume.
Am I still won?
But I think that Callum said that you did. I don't know entirely for sure.
I will go back and reflect on this after we're done. But yes, I did.
Yeah, so you're probably expecting, all the people listening here, you're probably expecting me to crap on this. And it fucking sucked. No, it was... This is a pretty damn good match. I like this a lot.
Thank you for being real. See, that's the cool thing about Tony. He can hate something, but he'll never say, I'm going to crap on it just because I have hatred to uphold.
I will always give my honest opinion, and I will always admit when I'm wrong, and I will always say if I don't think something's going to be good, I always hope that I'm wrong. Like, I was not into this match because of the idea that I had seen it 9 other times before, but they had a damn good match, and I enjoyed it from start to finish. I liked how Brock was playing a little bit more of a babyface role, but he wasn't babyfacing it in the sense of like, okay, he turned into a complete loser now, like they did with some other people. Instead, he's still kicking some ass. It's just that he's not the one that's the dominant heel in this anymore. So the dynamic switches a little bit. And then we get to a point where it ends up being, we get a
good ref bump.
The F5 and everything. And the way that he does the F5, he ends up throwing Roman on top of Charles Robinson. For a split second, before they did the whole the F5 taking out Robinson, when they did the first F5, I was like, oh shit, Brock's going to win.
When they did, Brock was just going to win?
Yeah, for a split second, I was like, oh my God, they're actually just going to give it to Brock. Because like, oh my God, they've got Brock again. They're just going to give it to Brock again. I had this panic moment of that. But the second one, when they take out Charles Robinson, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. I know this is going to work. And it works out exactly how I was expecting. We talked about this. Wait, that's my phrase for this episode. We talked about this before. I might have said that like 8 times on this episode. But we have talked about this before.
At least you're aware of it.
Yeah. The idea of Paul Heyman is not going to make a decision. They're going to do something where it's ambiguous. And
you know what? I don't care.
That's what happened. He throws the championship belt in between the two of them, and he says, you know what to do with this. You, of course, not specifying. And Brock wins the tug of war just for the Usos to super kick him. Roman gets the belt, hits Brock with it. A new ref comes out. Pinfall.
You know what I like? I like everything about this close. First of all, Paul Heyman didn't move. He was just so drained of energy knowing that he had to watch this match. Greg Hamilton did the intros for Brock Lesnar, and that was weird. We never hear anybody but Paul Heyman say Brock. That was very strange to me. But Paul Heyman throwing the belt in and says, "You know what to do with it." And then they both look at each other like, "Oh shit, okay." And we still have no idea whether or not Heyman's actually talking to Lesnar. We have no idea whether or not Heyman's just trying to lower Rand's guard down, or if, Brock is just done with him. And I enjoyed this. But I also enjoyed the belt was the crux, and the belt was the finish. They didn't do a thing where it was, and Lesnar kicks out, and now Reigns has to hit him with a spear. Nope. Belt shot, 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
I will say, though, I do not want this to drag out to WrestleMania.
It's not gonna, man. Like, it's just not.
I don't have faith they're not going to do it. I'm worried about that because I think that they're like, we've got something here. And look at the past 2 WrestleManias that we've had. There's been at least one feud that started around the end of October, the beginning of November, that dragged out until Mania. We had the Rollins and Owens thing, and we had the Orton and Wyatt thing. And I'm worried that this is going to be that one.
If this goes to Mania, I will never doubt you with this October feud issue again. And I will forever admit that if you say something, it's just likely going to be true. Because I can't see this one going to Mania. It goes to Rumble, maybe. It goes to Day 1, more likely to me. But I can't see this going to WrestleMania.
Now, I ideally don't want to see an 11th match, period. I would have liked to have seen some kind of finality to it. I do like the idea that they're like, oh, we don't know because Heyman, whatever. But to me, that does kind of speak to, well, I'll spoil something here. For anybody, I mean, it really doesn't matter. But just in case, spoiler warning for the new Halloween movie and the new Halloween series and everything. So, Halloween Kills is the follow-up to the confusing ass thing where it's like there's Halloween, then they did Halloween 2, then they did Halloween 3 that wasn't actually a follow-up to Halloween 2, and then they did a follow-up and it's Halloween 4, and then they come back and Halloween H2O ends up ignoring some of the other ones, and then and then we go back and do a reboot, and that's called Halloween, and then we do another reboot, and that's called Halloween, but that's actually a follow-up to Halloween, so it's Halloween 2, but it's Halloween 2, 3, and like that kind of thing. So they do Halloween Kills, and for anybody who hasn't seen Halloween Kills, the movie exists for literally no reason. It is, okay, he didn't die in the previous one, and we're going to spend the whole movie saying, we're killing him tonight, and he doesn't, so that they can do the next movie, Halloween Ends. And the criticism for the movie is justified. Everybody just keeps going, well, that was pointless. And it's just to set up another one. And I don't like it when they do things like this where I know that they're gushing over this. And I do like it to an extent. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm not saying that I hate this or whatever. And they need to do another match here because they need to have Paul Heyman make a decision. But I don't want them to drag it out. So if they do this at day 1, it's still another whole 2.5 months almost to come back to this. And they're going to have filler with Survivor Series with Big E. And then they'll probably have like a filler opponent or whatever. But I really don't want to spend 6 months of, I don't know if I can trust Paul Heyman because the Brock Lesnar thing's looming in the background. And then once we get to the road to WrestleMania, it just becomes, hey, let's repeat exactly the same thing we did building up to Crown Jewel for February and March. You know what I mean? That's what I'm worried about.
Do you think that they didn't have him make a decision just in case they ever need to, like, And Roman Reigns has been injured, and now we just need the pairing of Lesnar and Heyman again.
No,
Like you never had.
I think that they literally did it like this because they want to just do this same exact story again for Mania. I really think that that's the case. And then that way they can go, well, remember the last time that they had this match, Paul Heyman never really made a decision. And they, like, 100% just kind of, the way that they did it for this even, you know, they start off with the, does Paul Heyman have his back? And then they establish that he does. And then Brock says, no, he doesn't. And they go, maybe he doesn't. So I think that they're going to spend the next 4 months where it's like, oh yeah, Paul Heyman, of course, has totally got his back. And then Brock shows back up again and he goes, I had the match won. You know that. Everybody saw it. The Usos interfered. The referee was down, whatever. And by the way, Paul Heyman brought me back. Haha, we're doing that story again. I'm worried that that's the case. I hope I'm wrong.
But here's a fun thought. You're convinced that this goes to Mania. If this goes to Mania, you see Roman beating Brock. Yes?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them to have Brock beat him.
Okay, well, do you think that they can carry this out and actually get to, okay, and Rock doesn't touch Roman until they're in Hollywood a year and a half from now?
I don't know if they're going to carry out this Roman title reign for that whole time, but I don't think that they're doing The Rock until Hollywood. That's why I'm like, I don't think that they have any other plans, and I don't think that they have anything else that they think is good enough for Mania other than Brock, so they're just going to do it again.
Very interesting. All right.
Like, what's the alternative?
Make new stuff. They have a lot of people that can do the match with Roman.
What's the realistic alternative? That's the problem, is because ideally it would be
you can always do that Goldberg match. You never did it.
Make new stars and do that kind of deal, but the likelihood that that's going to happen is really low.
You can always do that Goldberg match. The only issue is that now Goldberg has lost to a guy that you fired this year. So the little bit of the luster is off Goldberg.
Yeah. Now, like, if push comes to shove and they need to do something different, we've seen WrestleManias in the past where they're just like, I don't know, fucking whatever. Like the WrestleMania 32, they were just sort of like, I don't know, half the people are injured. Let's just do something.
Hey, they did that. I will never hold anything against them for that one. They were snake bit.
And, you know, like, maybe in their mind, they're thinking that they can do Drew McIntyre against Roman for Mania, but I don't think that they will. I think that they really like this idea of we bring these special people in for these big shows. Look at SummerSlam. We had John Cena and we had Goldberg. So the likelihood that they're not going to have Brock against Roman, because they're not going to do Brock against Big E, and they've got Brock on contract. The only match that they would do other than that would maybe be the Bobby one, and they've specifically not wanted to do that. So it's Brock against Roman at WrestleMania, and we're going to revisit this. And by that point, I'll probably Brock Lesnar rule it. But for this one, that was a damn good match. And I enjoyed the hell out of that segment. In a bubble of itself, I really liked it. Please don't make me regret saying that, WWE.
Yeah, I liked this whole match. I liked this whole card. I genuinely think I'll have to look back at what other shows they presented this year, but this is up on my show of the year right now.
It's probably up on there for me too. I don't remember what other ones are probably in the running, but...
And that's crazy, because these usually never even touch show of the year. Maybe worst show.
Right.
But, like, it was a really fun time.
Yeah, so I dig it. We had some good stuff on here. A couple of flubs here and there, but, you know, all in all, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, 2 thumbs way up for me.
So make sure that you tell us what you think. As we've said before, drop a comment below. Keep the discussion going. If you're checking this out on like the audio only types of things, on like Anchor or Spotify or whatever, you know, it might be, then, you know, you can't really leave a comment on those things, but you can send a tweet at SmarkOutMoment. You can send a tweet at us in particular, like I'm at Tony Mango and Rob is at Dude Felice.
I'm at Dude Felice everywhere. You can follow me. If you know me by now, you know I also write for Fightful, and you should definitely be checking out Fightful Select because Sean's always breaking stories over there. So please go give those guys a follow and follow them on social media too. Go check out Fightful Wrestling. Their podcasts are so entertaining. I do the Dynamite podcast. I'm less entertaining when I'm not with Tony just being a jackass. But go check that out. And yeah, that's it for me. And you should also follow Callum, even though he's not here, at Bigmeister14, and check out all the cool archive stuff we have and our retro podcasts. Oh, and I won Fantasy League, clean sweep. Go me.
So, even though we don't address the Fantasy League and trades and stuff on different podcast things, if you go to WWEFantasyLeague.com, it'll convert you over to the part of SmarkOutMoment.com that has that kind of breakdown of everything that's happening there that Callum takes charge of and crunches the numbers for and whatnot. We'll see how some of the points for the pay-per-view ended up working out with some of the wins here. We got Halloween Havoc coming up, which I'm hoping leads to some different changes with some different things. I currently have Raquel on my team for this next week. I'm like, I don't know if it's worth putting her on the team and hoping that she retains or hoping that she drops the championship and moves or something. I don't know.
And then starts killing it.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm kind of of two worlds with that, but we're kind of rolling along with that. And there's lots of things that are happening on SmarkOutMoment.com. There are things on FanboysAnonymous.com. There are just, there's lots of things happening right now. It's a busy time of the year and everything. And we got into the next thing, which is going to be the hot tags. We're going to talk about whatever we feel like talking about tomorrow night. So stay tuned for
tomorrow.
That.
Oh.
Yeah.
I will say this. I'm a little thrown off.
Totally thrown off.
Yeah.
Like right now, I would have been having done the NXT UK type stuff and, didn't check that out.
Okay, NXT UK is wrapping up. Apparently, they just aired it at normal time, which, says to me, they don't give a shit. I'm sorry. Look, NXT UK, I love the show. They do not care.
How did they air it at the normal time if that was when it was still?
Because they just air. They just release the episodes. They don't live stream it. Remember, you can.
Oh, that's right. It's hard to remember that when Peacock doesn't actually let you click on it for the first 15 minutes.
So they just aired it at the normal time, and it was like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar are in the ring. Nobody is watching NXT UK.
That's funny. I'm curious if there is anybody out there that's like, nope, got to turn it off and got to watch NXT UK. But we knew the spoilers about that ahead of time, so it wasn't anything all that different. But that stuff's out there, and whatever we want to talk about with the hot tags, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. And then next week is the 10-year anniversary of Smack Talk.
I've been having, not specifically about Smack Talk, but this has been a big year. Like, wow, it's been 10 years since, for me, it's been 10 years since I graduated high school. And it's been 10 years of Smack Talk for you. And these years, man, are flying by.
Can't believe it's been 10 years of that. You figure you got a kid that's going into
5th grade.
Yeah, that wasn't born when I did the first episode like that. That just
that's a mindfuck.
Not a fan. Got somebody the other day shared a picture, a happy birthday picture with them and another person that the two of them that I went to high school with, and they were like, here's a picture of us in 9th grade, freshman year, and it's a 20-year-old picture. And I was like, oh, God, I don't like this at all. I hate this. No, that doesn't happen. No, there's not people that are graduating that are different ages that are, no, nothing that. But yeah, 10-year anniversary coming up with the mailbag. So if you want to send us some mailbag questions, if you're not able to join live, then send them in while you can over the next couple of days. We haven't figured out exactly what the time is that we're going to be doing that yet. It's either going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday for next week. It kind of depends on as insane of a schedule as I've got, because that's wedding week. So, I don't know how I'm going to fit a lot of these things in, but that's more than likely also going to be a combination of that and the hot tags. Probably not going to do hot tags in any fashion on Friday night. That's a little bit going to be.
And the hot tags in that case will be a Monday Night Raw breakdown and just talk about whatever.
Yeah, it's a combo episode because why not? And
Because when you combine things, that means you're getting the best of both worlds. Like when WWE combined, the Raw and SmackDown pay-per-views, and now you just get everybody.
And when you combine peanut butter and chocolate, and when you get you listeners and this podcast. So thank you for listening for this. Thank you for your support, whether it's on Patreon or it is on the join membership kind of side of things on YouTube, or if it's a super chat for live chat things, or if it's any kind of thing. If it's just listening, leaving a comment or passing this along or something, or clicking on the website, or clicking on an ad, or thinking positively about
towards
this.
us,
Yeah. So thank you for whatever that might be, and thank you for hanging out in the live chat for the people that were here for this, and we will see you next time, everybody. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.